Okay, so this final method I want to show you guys is called twig bundle. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a big bundle of twigs, but it's a little more complicated than that.
I'm so hungry.
You want really tiny twigs, as small as you can possibly find. Like, this is a little bigger than a pencil, too big. So you want the smallest ones you can find. You gotta crack them, make sure that they snap. That's how you know they're dry and ready to burn. Now, I don't like to take too many chances with twig bundles, so I've also gathered right around here at the camp some white pine twigs, which I know are really good for fire starting. Any of the pines really are. I've got a little bit of this basswood bark that was too rough to put in the tinder bundle, so I'm gonna put that at the bottom here. And then white pine twigs with the dead needles still on them. So just increasing all the chances I possibly can of getting this twig bundle going on the first start. Okay, so come on over. So basically, I want to grab the twig bundle at one end, so I'm not gripping in the middle, but at the very end. And then try to pick the best spot where like I see a lot of twigs lined up, and then I'll just put my lighter down there. You see those needles catch right away. And then the needles catch twigs above them. And then this one cut right away so I can put it down. Put it down in the fire ring right away. Sometimes to get them going, you have to kind of like turn in a circle like this to get some air going to them. But this one, since it's dry, it lit right away.
Are there any other kinds of wood other than pine twigs that would work well for a twig bundle?
Yeah, let's go check out something here. I'll show you where we got these. And also show you a trick for if it's wet and you can't find any really dry twigs. Okay, so right here. This is like a little viburnum shrub. And this actually looks like maybe an old apple tree or something, but they're dead. So anytime I'm going somewhere, if I'm hiking, if I'm backpacking, if I'm camping, or if I'm like putting myself in a survival type situation for practice, I'm always looking for dead trees, especially ones with twigs that I know will work for the twig bundle. So this has a bunch of really tiny dead twigs that snap off. Okay, so I've made basically half the twig bundle just from this, and there's plenty left here. So you can make an entire twig bundle probably in like 30 seconds and have it burning in a minute or less. So even if you just need a quick warm up, you know, on the trail when you're hiking, like the twig bundle is such a good way to do that. But again, the key is it has to be the right deadness, and you don't really want to gather them from the ground because then they're wet. If it's been really dry for like the sun's been shining, the wind's been blowing for a few days, then you can gather stuff off the ground. But otherwise, you want to really find standing dead twigs for this.
All right, you just got a few more minutes, Joe.
Okay, great. There's just one other trick I wanted to show. Okay, so what if you can't find any dry wood? So I was looking for a log that's, I would like this to be a little thicker, but this is probably like 3 inches. Okay. You can actually find drier wood by splitting this in half. I'm gonna try to use them. I really like these Mora knives. The blade actually goes all the way to the end of the handle, so you can use it for cool things like splitting wood. So I'm just trying to split this right in half. Just tapping lightly on my knife. You can't do this with every knife, but I really like these. Okay, so the moisture rarely penetrates to the very middle of these branches, so you can, it feels maybe a little bit wet in there, but once you split it, you can either use your hatchet or a knife and just make wood shavings. So anytime I'm using the hatchet, I want to make sure that my path, like if I miss this and miss the log, I'm not going to chop my leg in half. So making sure to be clear here. But see how these wood shavings are coming off. So I just take those wood shavings and put them under my twig bundle. Like just since we're running out of time here, I'll stop there. But just gather these up. And you would want to make a little ball of them, basically. And you put those on your twig bundle. If you were to light those with the lighter, then put your twig bundle on top. That usually is enough to dry out, you know, some of the drier twigs on your bundle. So it's just another wet weather trick. Let's see if there's any coals left.
We had a question, when is the right time to make a fire?
Great question. Let's say you're lost and need to spend the night out in the woods. If it's this time of year where it's really only getting cold at night and during the day it's not that bad, to conserve your firewood, you could wait until, not till the sun's going down, but like, you know, maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock to get the fire going. That way you're not trying to do it in the dark. And you could spend a lot of the day gathering up a huge bundle of firewood and maybe working on your shelter. But if you're just making fire for the enjoyment of it, you can do it any time of day. You just wouldn't want to do it necessarily if it's really windy or like if it's been really dry out in the forest. But I love to have a fire in the morning sometimes. Make some tea or just to warm up.
Does anyone else have any last questions about fire before Madison gives us a quick, speedy overview of making cordage? Oh, and I'll change it so you can unmute yourself if you want to ask your question.
What happens if you get yourself hurt while you're making a fire?
Great question. Well, the first thing is that you really want to try to avoid getting hurt. So you don't want to rush. You want to take your time. Like I was talking about with the axe, you want to make sure that there's no way that you could hurt yourself by the way that you're swinging the axe. Same thing if you're carving, you know, you want to try to make sure that there's no way you could cut yourself. And also when you're gathering firewood, you should take your time. You don't want to twist an ankle because if you do get hurt, it really can complicate your survival situation. So you really want to take your time, take good care of yourself. And you know, if you needed to, if you got lost out here in like springtime in the woods, you could just make a huge pile of leaves and that would get you through most nights. So you wouldn't have to, you know, take the risk of hurting yourself to make a fire. But it really depends on the injury. You know, if you cut yourself, you would definitely want to stop what you're doing and patch yourself up. If you twist an ankle or something, you wouldn't want to make that worse. So basically you got to take care of your body first and, you know, move outward from there with with what resources you have to take care of, like your shelter or your immediate surroundings.
Someone's
Right.
asking to spell
You
that
can't
name.
use?
What's that?
Are there any types of wood that you can't use?
For like the bow drill, or just for fire in general?
Just for like fire in general.
Great question. You don't want to burn poison ivy.
Well,
Because
yeah,
that if this oil, the burning oil gets in your lungs, that could be really a bad deal. So be really careful not to burn any hairy vines. And then most other things are fair game, although buckeye wood is somewhat poisonous, like mildly. So I try to avoid burning buckeye. Hackberry also smells really bad when you burn it, so I avoid that too. But those are the only things coming to mind.
Nate said, "Don't burn rhododendron."
Oh, don't burn rhododendron. Thank you, Nate.
don't burn tires.
Yeah, don't burn tires. Although I've seen people using little bits of the inner tube of a bike tire to make a survival fire. Like, it must be really good. I haven't tried that one yet, but good wet weather fire starter if you had to. Okay, we better get over to Madison so she has time to make some cordage. Thanks, everybody.
If there's any questions left at the end, maybe we can ask a few, but let me put Madison on